Awesome, dude. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. What's up, UX fam? How's your mom and them? Welcome to another episode of Beyond UX Design. I'm Jeremy. If you're new here, welcome to the show. I am super stoked to have you. The Beyond UX Design shop is open. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/shop to pick up some big, beautiful art prints of some of my favorite UX and software-related quotes, or pick up some digital downloads and print them yourself. Pick up your copy of Beyond UX Design, master your craft beyond pixels and prototypes. Get free shipping on all orders over $30 and use the code LISTENER to get 10% off your entire order. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/shop to get your print on. This week's episode is brought to you by Wix Studio. If you're thinking about redoing your portfolio or kicking off a new website project, listen up. I only have 30 seconds to tell you about Wix Studio, the web platform for agencies and enterprises. So here are a few things that you can do from start to finish in 30 seconds or less on Studio. You can adapt your designs for every device with responsive AI. You can jump seamlessly between front end and back end. You can speed up projects with an AI code assistant. You can start a design library and reuse full stack apps and UI components across multiple sites. But the time's up, but the list keeps going. Step into Wix Studio and see for yourself. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/Wix to start creating today. And if you haven't done it already, please consider subscribing to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you are regular here and you feel like you're getting something out of the show, I would really appreciate you leaving a 5-star review. That'll help me out so much more than you know. And as always, thanks so much to Chris, Siraquan, Stacy, Roddy, Megan, Andrew, John, Mark, Kevin, Jason, Michelle, and Marty for all their support. And if you want to join these fine folks and many others and help keep the show independent and ad-free, you'll get rough transcripts and exclusive access to the entire video library of episodes, including episodes before they're even released. You can get instant access right now for as little as $5 a month. And for more information on how you can support the show and help more people find out about what we're doing, make sure to check out beyonduxdesign.com/support. And of course, if you think the show is worth sharing, then for the love of God, tell your mom and them about it. So if you've ever talked to a mentor, if you ever talked to anybody on ADP List or anywhere else, the chances are good they're going to tell you to go onto LinkedIn to network. But there's a dark side to LinkedIn, and my buddy Ronnie and I have maybe experienced this firsthand. So we're going to talk a little bit today about, what happens when you're on LinkedIn too much and what happens if you get sucked in to that content. I don't even know what to call it. What do you call it? The black hole, maybe? That's the wrong word.
Death spiral.
Death spiral. There you go. the vortex, the death vortex of LinkedIn. There are some other alternatives, and I'm going to talk with my buddy Ronnie Battista about that today. Ronnie has been a leader in the experience design community for over 20 years. He spent the bulk of his career in consulting, but has recently joined Chubb, leading the Experience Lab. He's been teaching UX for the master's program at Rutgers for the last 15 years. He's provided XD strategy, research, and design services to over 250 clients worldwide. Ronnie, I'm so excited to have you on. Welcome to Beyond UX Design. How's it going, man?
It's going great, man. Thanks for having me on. I know it's been a while. We've been trying to arrange this for a while, and I think we missed a little bit of Mental Health Month, but it's kind of perfect timing given the topic.
That's all right, dude. I'm actually extending it. And you know what I say? It's like, fuck it. It's my show. I do whatever the hell I want. And we're extending mental health.
You can curse on your show.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, we can curse. Yeah, let's do it, man. I kicked it off with Hong Shu. We had a really great chat about just mental health and all that stuff. I talked with Debbie Levitt last week about life after tech and, what happens when you're kind of done with tech, you're burnt out with tech. And I'm continuing this week. We're talking about just keeping it real. What happens to the dark side of LinkedIn? What happens when you're on LinkedIn too much? Some people say that it's a great place to go. And it can be. I'll give it, I'll say that. It can be a good place. I met you on LinkedIn. Met a lot of cool people on LinkedIn. But there's a dark side to LinkedIn that I think a lot of people need to be aware of. So we're going to talk about that today. So Ronnie, I know I read your bio a little bit, but tell us about you, man. And how'd you get into UX design? And then ultimately, how'd you get burnt out with LinkedIn?
Well, I started a while ago. I'll make it a very brief one. I kind of fell into this field because I had a really good mentor, Lynn McMahon at the time, that I was quitting Accenture, and she pointed me in the direction of something. Before you quit, how about you try something new? So she said, you look like you'd be good with people and, connecting them with technology. So I inherited basically a mothballed, never used usability lab and learned from the ground up. I literally wrote Jared Spool in my first week because he was the only one, not Jared Spool actually, it was Jakob Nielsen, because I literally had no idea what I was doing. And he wrote back to me. So it was kind of great, but I literally learned everything on the job. And then throughout the years have, been more certainly have matured past the craft, There's a lot of people that do that work, and as I'm learning a lot better than I can, but being a leader in this field and really helping nurture and mature and get people into this field and have them be successful has really been where I spent the bulk of in the latter half of my career.
I love it, dude. Well, I am excited to have you on. I've been, like I said, it's funny. I mentioned, LinkedIn, but I've been following you on LinkedIn for a while. Not only are you a great UX voice to follow, but you're also kind of funny too. So I'm excited to have you on today. My goal, I didn't mention this before, my goal is to laugh at least twice every
I'll
episode.
Make you laugh.
I think we've done that.
Or cry.
Yeah, or cry. I think maybe we'll laugh so much that we cry or cry so much that we laugh. I think we've already hit our quota for the day. So Ronnie, we were talking a little bit. We originally were going to have you on, and I can't even remember exactly what the original topic was. And you said
it was about the seat at the design table.
The seat at the table. That's what it was.
Based on that post that I made, right?
That's right.
Which didn't get the level of engagement that I had intended it to get.
No way. And surprise, surprise. Yeah. Don't get me started on LinkedIn's algorithm and the numbers. They just don't seem to add up. We ended up saying, you know what? I think it's probably more valuable for us to have this conversation about LinkedIn and really some of the pitfalls. So I want to talk a little bit before we talk about the pitfalls of LinkedIn. Let's talk a little bit about maybe some of what people think of. Maybe not the actual benefits, but what do people think of when they think of LinkedIn and they recommend LinkedIn? I'm curious if you have any experience with this, like hearing other people talk about LinkedIn, or maybe you've even recommended LinkedIn to mentees over the years. But I'm curious, is like the shining thing, like the maybe the utopia that people think LinkedIn is. I'm curious, like, what do you think people go to LinkedIn for? Like, why do people go to LinkedIn when they go to network?
It's a great question. I don't know that I could answer it well, I could say that generally speaking, right, it's a business networking site. I always looked at it as, yes, there's a social media component. It doesn't have to be sort of buttoned up professional, but the idea was it's a place where, as opposed to, Facebook and other sort of social based, this was basically this is business social media. It was the idea that you could get to know people, you could get to understand more about companies, positions, and use this as a network to kind of reach across. And I can tell you that I am probably one of the, I've been on it almost 20 years. I joined in 2004, 2005. So I've been here for a very long time, and I want to make sure it's very clear, because I think this is where it's going to be posted. This platform has been a game changer in my career. It is massively important in terms of everything from keeping up to date, from connecting folks, from finding work, from all of the things that, like, all of the goodness of what LinkedIn is. I've experienced it. Prior to, being in this situation and the conversation we're going to have, I was on LinkedIn easily 90 minutes a day, usually half an hour at work and an hour outside of work. It was my kind of go-to for all things. It's how I keep in touch with the world, with the business world. And then I think it's always been a little bit, maybe too social in some aspects. I was posting about the fact that this isn't LinkedIn like 10 years ago. There's actually old posts from me going like, this is not, this isn't Facebook kind of things. I've always been a bit of a curmudgeon when it comes to, like, I don't know that I need to see pictures of your dog and kind of the walk you went on, like, go put that someplace else. So it's always been a little bit of that, but of late it has changed, I think, significantly in variety, both from the audience and what they do, and most certainly what LinkedIn and what they do.
Yeah. So, it's interesting you mentioned that, because like, I would agree as far as like historically LinkedIn has been helpful for me. And I don't even know. It's funny you mentioned like you've been in LinkedIn members. I don't even know when I've joined LinkedIn, but it's probably been early 2000s, maybe 2008, maybe 2009. I can't remember. I never posted though, which is interesting. Like, I would go on LinkedIn and I would only ever update it when I needed to get a job, or, when I wanted to update when I got a new job and I needed to keep my, resume portion of LinkedIn, but I never really posted ever. And it wasn't until I started doing this podcast, actually, that I started posting on it. And what I realized doing that and doing a lot of the posting was like, this is just a social media site. This is really just a place for people to consume content of a different type. Maybe it's more business, I guess, than what Instagram or Facebook might be. But what I realized was like, this is just a social media site for suits, I don't know. It's just kind of been interesting, like that ride over the last like 2 years since I started posting a lot. And I'm curious, like, how long have you been like posting regularly? Have you been posting for a long time on LinkedIn, or is it just sort of more recently?
Well, it's funny. In terms of recently, the on July 3rd, I posted my new job. I haven't posted since. I did one very quickly, I think a referral for another job, but in terms of original posting, once I got the new job, it was almost like I'm done. That was it. Like I do need to let my network know that I'm now currently gainfully employed, but I'm done. I posted a lot of typically, and it's funny, I haven't really gone and audited myself. I don't think I was not a prolific. I was never a prolific poster. I'd probably post maybe once a month. Sometimes if there was a good article, I might kind of add my comments to it, but I never had a newsletter. I never asked people, like I just kind of wrote when I thought things, made sense. In the last year, that's where I think I had to revisit what my relationship with LinkedIn was going to be because I had lost my job. I was made redundant as part of some layoffs at my consulting company. And I'm like, okay, well, now, I have to basically, this is the global water cooler for the suits, right? There's no other place to go. Like you really can't, like where else do out of work people looking for the next opportunity, seeing who's out there go? There's no place else, at least that I'm aware of. So then you're faced with, okay, well, now what do I do here? How do I use my opportunity to say I'm on the market? To do that in ways that are going to make me look good, that are going to, provide something that others find meaningful, all that kind of thing. And that alone, that how you have to primp for LinkedIn alone was a huge stressor that I've read about again in other comments as well as people like, how do I, how often do I post? What do I post about? Do I come across as desperate? Do I put my open to network at? All those kinds of things, you really get into this, like it's a fever for the way that I described it. It's funny, I'm looking at a mirror over here. The way that I describe it and the way that it feels to me is LinkedIn is like one mirror, right? That the world sees. And the algorithm is the time that they give you in front of that mirror. And if you're good, if you put on the right hair products or whatever, like, and you do something right and you get caught, like you actually get a couple of seconds in front of the mirror, but then somebody pushes you. Hey, I'm important here. Hey, and it's this constant guessing game of what can I do? How can I say this in a way? How can I do this that's going to get me a little bit more of that mirror time where you can say, hey, look at me, I'm important. And this slavish devotion to what is that algorithm going to do has really revealed some things with very good, dear friends of mine who are helping me navigate this process have told me things that are like stunning. Well, I shouldn't say stunning. Some of them I get. Like, by the way, when I posted my first I am out of work, right? Which was took me a couple of weeks after losing my job to like even I needed to say it the right way. I pretty much used, I think, every character available to me because I talk too much and I write too much. But what I was told was when you post it, you cannot edit it. If you make one typo in that thing and you go and edit, you break the algorithm. And if you break the algorithm, your content gets whatever. Right? So that was my first foray into that. Then any number of coaching sessions I've gotten where, well, I wish you would do this and miss the algorithm. And I'll keep thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, so why am I posting? Am I posting? Obviously, I want my post to get a lot of views, but it's become less about what I'm actually trying to say and all about how can this particular profile that you see on LinkedIn, get the most, get that punch through and get the views and the thing. And it becomes this addictive cycle of just you're chasing that dragon of trying to figure out a way to make it hit harder. And now that's coupled on top by a bunch of really low integrity people out there that are hawking how they're going to teach you a way to get in front of that mirror for another couple of seconds. I think we've lost our way with what this was supposed to be.
Yeah, dude. So it's interesting. You mentioned a couple things. I wanna go back there. You sort of like mentioned it in passing where someone asked a question like, what am I going to post about? Well, it's funny. Like, why are you asking that question? if you don't have anything to say, why are you trying to find something to say? It's funny, which is one of the reasons why I never actually posted before I started the podcast. The reason I started posting was like, hey, I got a new episode, check it out. I got a new episode, check it out. And that was why I started posting. So I had there was a reason for it. And I see a lot of people getting this advice that you got to put yourself out there on LinkedIn. And I just question, like my biggest question when I hear people, because I get this question a lot from people that I'm coaching or mentoring or whatever. And my question is like, well, what are you trying to do? Like, what is the goal? Are you trying to get a job? Are you trying to meet people? Are you trying to sell something? Do you have a product you're trying to sell? Or are you just, if you're trying to get a job, what is posting going to do for you? I think that's like the interesting, this is where I sort of realized like this is a social media network. When you think about the way that like LinkedIn works, like we say we're here to network, which, people have different definitions of what quote unquote networking means, but posting about stuff and expecting people to like comment like is not networking. When you see people doing that, I'm curious, like what are you thinking? And like if you had, a group of kids you were mentoring, whatever, what would you say?
I think well done in nailing down the problem. Posting is not networking, but we have been conditioned, right, through various means to say that you don't like the way that, people won't know you exist unless you're posting, right? So if you are out of work or you are looking for a role, whatever, is like your currency is based on what you post. There's no shortage of examples of real people out there being like, as blatant as saying, just find something else you like, throw it in Chat GPT, rewrite it and send it out and say, like, and they're saying this is a way you build your brand. And it's all about building your brand and your brand and your brand. And the fact is like, your brand is what people think about you when you leave the room. I will tell you that when I was in this, I've got about 20 posts that I wrote during my period in between roles about what it feels like, about how awful and all this kind of stuff. And my wife, bless her, was the one that said, you do not want to be known as the professionally unemployed guy that shares how horrible it is. But I see other people do it. And on the one hand, I'm like, oh, that's awesome for you to say that. But on the other hand, I'm like, now I can look at them now and be like, is that going to get you a job? To your point, is that going to get you a job? That post is not networking. That post is expressing a feeling. But what is that getting you?
Yeah. Well, you called out something too. I think I want to highlight this. The idea of a personal brand. And I hear a lot of people that like poo-poo personal brand. And a lot of times the people who poo-poo the personal brand are equating personal brand with the people like you're talking about, posting constantly, bullshit stuff. They're just like AI, running crap through AI, copy and paste, and it sounds like a robot wrote it. But brand, it's exactly like you said. It's what people think about you when you're not around. And I think when you're thinking about LinkedIn, this is something like I try to filter every single post through that lens. Like, what am I leaving behind? What are people going to say? Who is my audience? Why am I posting this? And is it going to add value to that group? And what I do is I'll start every single post with something like, dear individual contributor or something, because that's my audience, individual contributors, mid-level, whatever. And it's like, if I read through that post and if they're not going to get something out of that, I don't post it. I just recently started a Blue Sky, like the Twitter alternative. And like I post bullshit on there, like stupid stuff, shit posting stuff I would never post on LinkedIn. So like, it's like one of those things I kind of think about. And again, it goes back to that strategy. It goes back to that thing, like I have a podcast, I'm writing a book. I have a reason to post stuff. But for the other people, like dear recruiter or dear, potential hiring manager. And I think that's so important though, to think about. And I'm not saying like censor yourself. I don't think that's what you're saying either. It's not censoring yourself, but there's a time and a place for certain things. And again, people are going to say, oh, we're being gatekeepers, but I don't know. It's just sort of like one of the, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but like, I just think about that so much. Like it's funny. This actually, I don't know. Well, I can't remember if I ever mentioned this on the podcast before, but 4 years ago, my wife got me a podcasting kit for dummies. And it was like a book and a really cheap, like USB microphone. And she goes, you like to complain. You'd make a great podcast host. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I like to complain. So like, it's funny because she said that and I'm like conscious of it. So I'm like, I make an effort to not complain publicly on LinkedIn, but like at home, I'm like, this fucking thing, this stupid thing, And so, but that's my brand, like I don't want to be known as the eternal complainer and who's like always poo-pooing things. So I don't like, I don't like piss on other people's parade on LinkedIn. I don't like poo-poo stuff because I don't want to be the complainer, right? So anyway, but it's just one of those things, like, you filter that through. And I think I see so many people on LinkedIn that just, like, I don't know, post just to post. Is that helping you? Like, use a little bit of critical thought there. And I think most people are just missing that critical thinking piece.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, but I also think that the product owners at LinkedIn, I wish they could actually see this, have engineered this necessity to post. And so much so, like the one feature, like you can unfollow things. If there was one feature that I forget about the video part, go jump off a bridge for introducing video, you sons of bitches. But if there's one piece that I would want to take and put in a bucket and drown slowly, just literally until it stopped kicking, it's this AI generated. Here are 3 questions. Like a computer is generating a thing to say, if you answer 3 of these questions around whatever, XD, leadership, or whatever, then you become a top voice. So it's gamified, right? But the fact is, when I signed up for 10 months of premium, which is $39 a month for nothing, what it did give me the ability was, when I get an AI question asked of me, I can literally answer. It was prompting me saying, if you click this button, here's an answer you can give. So it's literally, LinkedIn is creating a condition to say, we're going to have our computer ask questions. And if you have a subscription, your computer can answer them for them. Where is the human in that? Where's the dialect? This is literally happening on this platform. Honestly, I feel ethically like product owners there should really take a seat back and say, what is your job here? What is your job? I mean, I know you're serving Microsoft now. You're probably serving some other shareholder. But what about the people on this platform that really need to engage in meaningful ways? Why are you turning this into a popularity contest?
Yeah, LinkedIn is just, it's insane. And one of the questions I have, though, is, we kind of talked about this before, but LinkedIn, and actually I want to dig into this a little bit, is before we talk about the alternatives, LinkedIn is, to me, I get so anxious now going on LinkedIn. And I used to post Monday through Saturday every single day. I would do, planning ahead and writing my content and all that crap, trying to build my audience, trying to sell my show and all that shit. And I've gotten to the point now where I open LinkedIn and it gives me anxiety. And I'm curious if like something like that has ever happened to you. And what do you do? Like, do you just, I guess you just don't open LinkedIn, but I hope I'm not the only one here, but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
That's the point. The point is, and it really has only been in the last, in fairness, right? I was also looking for work. So, that's going to add anxiety to anything. But that said, yeah, I mean, it is what was happening was, especially until I changed my settings, which I just saw online where you can change to like just see an actual chronological feed versus recommended, which is what they recommend. Best thing I ever did, by the way, because it cuts out a lot of the noise. But I got to the point where you get, especially when you're looking for work, all it takes is an app, and I say an hour, that's even too much. You log on in the morning, you see what new jobs might be there, click easy apply or apply to the ones you want, and then you're kind of done. The only thing, there's really not much else to do. But then you read this thing where it says somebody who is basically pouring their heart out about what you're feeling right now. So on the one hand, while I'm like, I'm glad I didn't do that. On the other hand, like there are so many, and I've reached out individually and I've had one-to-one conversations with these people saying, thank you for sharing that. That was really important. So on the one, I don't want to sound duplicitous, but like, I was happy that they did that. But then there's 15 of them. And then there's 30 of them. And then my algorithm basically must have said, boy, this guy loves like horror and doom. And that's all I kept getting. And it's a constant set of that. So the anxiety that comes from that, when you're sitting in a pool of basically like, I can't find a job. Nobody can. We're all suffering. And you start to like, it just builds up. I mean, you can hear it, right? It just builds up. And you're like, this is just what is this?
Yeah, it's interesting because like for me, like I got laid off in December and I tried to not post a lot of that stuff too. And I saw a lot of that stuff. And like for me, like I get a lot of anxiety because, as like a person who posts like stuff about UX and content, I guess content creator, I hate using like the term content creator, but I've got a book that's coming out and like I see a lot of people, like I'll post something and I don't know, might get 10, 15 likes, 20 likes if I'm lucky. And then I see other people posting like very similar shit and it's like 100 likes, 150, 200, 300 likes. But I see that and I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Like, I don't understand why, like, like I've got this stuff. It's like the same shit. I posted it last week and like nobody likes it, but now people are not saying anybody's ripping off my content. I mean, it's all general knowledge shit, but you know what I mean? And then like that gives me anxiety. And like I post stuff and I'm like, nobody's going to fucking see it. And then, I've got this book coming out and like, for me, it's like, I gotta promote the book and I gotta post about it and I don't have anywhere else to go to post it. I'm not paying for marketing and shit. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on, other places where I can promote the book. So like, I get anxiety from that, like having to think about writing shit to post it. So like to get no engagement. And like, that gives me like real anxiety. And I'm almost at the point where I'm like, I don't even want to do it. Like, I just want to sort of like release the book, put it on Amazon and just be done with it, even if it doesn't sell. You know what I mean? Because I just like, I don't even want to go to LinkedIn. I don't even want to talk about it. And I don't know. It's just weird,
Yeah. But what like, and I'm not going to psychoanalyze you at all because I was in a different extent, I was the same way. But like, I want to say this like in the nicest way, man. Like, listen to yourself. Listen to what you're saying. Another friend of mine said, what a shame, Ronnie. You give such good comments because I comment on people's things now. Like, I honestly find like if I comment on somebody else's content, it's because I felt it was good enough to comment on, but I'm not really producing any net new content. And he said, well, it's not, that's not what sucks is that you don't get any credit in your algorithm for content, for commenting. I'm like, okay, what is my point for commenting? Is it to show, to be that I'm popular? Like the thing is this entire, your anxiety, I understand to get your business out there, right? There is a financial reason why you're doing this, right? You want to make a business, you want to build your things up. But you are conditioned to believe that your validation is going to be equated to someone else's. And you just said it, like, I posted something, I only got 20 likes. They got 100. So they're more valid than you. And there are, and I'm not going to name names because I'm going to tell you, I'm sure we both know them, but they talk about the fact that if I'm a content creator, I'm one of the top 40 content creators. Okay. So let me teach you how to be a content creator. Well, let me just add something. If you teach another 400 people to be content creators, there can only be a top 40. Like, this is what's happening is everybody is trying to get to the 1%. Everybody wants to be the ones that get up there and do that. So they're just flooding the zone. And you who are trying to build a business, who are actually producing original content, bringing on, get like this type of stuff, you have to now fight against somebody who is basically taking hints and tips on how to flood the zone with repurposed content in ways because they're posting at a certain time or with a certain number of numbers or with a certain hashtag or whatever that's got some magical algorithm that's smiling on it more than yours. Where is any of this? Where is any of this bringing value to your life? It's not. And I'm just as guilty. I'm only on my way out of kind of taking the red pill of like being in this fever dream of what it means to be a presence on this platform.
Well, so here's the thing that I'm curious about because I do try to deliver some value for listeners, but like thinking about this, like there are so many pitfalls. There are so many things happening on LinkedIn that we could complain about all day long. But I still think there's some value in the accessibility of all the people that are there, in the ability to access the people that are there and to build a global network, which I think even if it doesn't get you a job, I think being able to interact with people from all over the world is valuable. And I think learning from people all over the world is valuable. Even if it doesn't get you a job at the end of the day, I still think there's benefit there. So I'm curious, how would you advise your students or somebody else? How do you go to LinkedIn with those eyes open and not fall for these things and have it turn into an anxious mess every time you open it up?
I would say, the focus is make the focus about you. And I know this sounds funny, but like really is it, what do you want to get out of? What are you looking to do? And look more at the relationships and the ways that you can reach out that aren't like, I would maybe put it this way. What if I told you, Jeremy, that you could use LinkedIn as many times you want? The only thing you could never do is post. You can never, ever do an original post, but you can do whatever else you want. That's almost the first way that I would say, like as just sort of a kicker, because I have during this last year connected one-to-one, we did during this, with so many people for one reason or another, via through job interviews, via through, hey, Ronnie, meet this person, whatever, and gotten into offline conversations that were really, really great and really helped me through this time. I would also say that the networking piece and during COVID, I can say this is a true story. I was here in the network. Somebody that was 2 degrees to my right reached out to somehow get connected to somebody 2 degrees to my left. So we're talking somebody knew somebody who knew me, who knew somebody who knew somebody. And within 36 hours, that person had a job.
Wow.
With that person, because all of us along the chain were like, hey, and then, hey, went back, right? Those are great ways to connect. And every time when I see someone that posts something that is of particular import or value, or I really felt there is an authenticity to it, I will reach out and say, hey, I just want to let you know that really resonated with me because of X, Y, and Z. Not necessarily on the auspices of having any other contact with them, but that type of kind of very, very more like in real life, one-to-one engagement. To me, that's where I still get the value out of the platform. I don't see that. I think the posting part is really where it kind of went. But the fundamentals of just as a networking platform of knowing, hey, Jeremy, you know somebody at this company. Could you give me a warm intro? Like that happens all the time. That is the absolute amazing feature that LinkedIn still offers, but I just don't see it used as much.
Yeah, I love that idea of what would you do if you couldn't post? That's beautiful. And one of the things I like to tell people is the magic for me happens in the comments. And I think that's where you and I started interacting before we actually got into a DM. But the comment thread, man, there's opportunity there. Probably won't help your algorithm. It's not going to help your post at all, but it's a fantastic way to have a conversation in the open with multiple people and get to know them a little bit. I mean, you could have a conversation with someone in a comment thread a few times, get to know them a little bit, then send them a DM or a connection request. And then they know who you are. It's not just a random person anymore. And I think that, to me, beyond the post, beyond the likes, beyond all that crap, I like to say the magic happens in the comments on LinkedIn, because I have met so many cool people and found other people to follow that had interesting insights. Someone posts an interesting post, someone leaves an interesting, maybe the opposite, maybe a counter argument or whatever. I'm like, well, that person's got some interesting things to say. I'm gonna follow them, and then follow them and then see who comments and then do it. Because sort of you build your network that way as opposed to just hitting follow. And, I don't know. I love that idea though. I've never thought about that before. What would you do on LinkedIn if you couldn't post? Do that.
One of the posts that I did that I never actually posted on was called no comment, which literally meant no comment. For example, question, some LinkedIn content gurus are posting that I should find someone else's great post here, had AI rewrite it for me, human brain optional, and share it as my own. Answer, no comment, as in comment on the original one. But I need a job, and the best way to meaningful engage, learn, and make deeper network connections in LinkedIn is by frequently posting things so I can gain thousands of followers and companies will see me as a thought leader, right? No comment. And it's the same thing. It's you want to engage in this, engage with people that are doing the right thing. And the idea, I love, if you're posting something that's good, if you're posting something, then I want other people to see that. What we are being taught though, LinkedIn is telling us, Jeremy had a good thing, Ronnie, take that, just put a couple of words on it, make it your own. And the fact is so instead of having the conversation, which you're going to be driving and having facilitated by posting it, now we have it spidered out. So I get 8 likes, you get 8 likes, and the conversation gets lost. There's only a couple of people, and I'm sure, that can command that audience in their comment section, but most are just repackaging and repurposing.
Yeah, I love that, dude. So let me ask you this then. If your students are talking about, networking and stuff, do you tell them to just avoid LinkedIn, or do you say use it
No.
you mentioned?
Get on LinkedIn. I want it. Don't get me wrong. You have to be here in any kind of corporate technical, but you need to be part of this, but do not equate your personal brand building. This is not a network. This is not TikTok. This is not Instagram. And unless you truly are, and you have something new and novel to say, chances are it's been said already. And I would be the first to admit, in my 30s or whatnot, when I was trying to, put forward the importance of UX, customer experience, I recycle things that other people have told me over time. That's going to happen forever, right? We're always going to be sort of carrying those things forward. But there's far too much out there where no one is taking, I shouldn't say no one. We need people to be a little bit more curating in what they actually decide to share and understand that your desire to build, like you building anything on this platform, not going to help your job. But I don't know where the value comes from other than to say, use this as a way to reach out, to make personal connections globally, as you mentioned, like meet new people, follow people, read content that you enjoy. Those that you don't enjoy, unfollow them. The best thing that I ever did was hit that unfollow button. I hit it probably 2 or 3 times a week now. And every time I do, I feel lighter.
I love to think about Marie Kondo. Does this bring me joy? It works for crap in your house, and it also works for social media, whether it's LinkedIn or any other social media. Does it bring you joy? If it doesn't, get it out of here.
And I've had to say, I'll just say one real quick thing is that there are so many people here where I've told people, I've unfollowed you because the one thing that you post that I love, I can't listen to the other 9. If you posted once a week with that nugget versus twice a day with other things, I'm like, I would follow you to the end, but I can't, you're not my life. And I'd rather I just can't anymore. So it's again, unfortunate that there's great content, but if you're so worried about the volume, quantity, and not the quality, I don't do quality. I don't do quantity. I'll drop it. And I do.
All right, Ronnie. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. I definitely think there's so much value in just being judicious and having some critical thought put into how you use LinkedIn, why you're there, what are you trying to do, who are you trying to meet, find those people. And I think so many people just equate that high number with being, effective networking. And, having a follower is not going to get you a job. It might sell you a book, but it is not going to get you a job. I really appreciate your insight. Before we get out of here, Ronnie, any other closing thoughts? I mean, that was the last thing you said was a pretty good closing thought. But anything else that we didn't talk about that you think is worth noting before we get out of here?
No, I mean, it's important that I'm very clear here and that like I still go on LinkedIn. I now that I've changed the settings to only really see it a chronological feed versus most recommended. I think that's one of the bigger things that have certainly changed my relationship with LinkedIn. And I only done that recently, but it's already helped. And I would say that if anybody heard this podcast and sees anything of value of it, connect with me on LinkedIn and let's have a conversation. Because I'd love to hear more from people. These are the kinds of conversations that I like to get into and I like to kind of unpack together. And so, yeah, I mean, that probably would be it.
Hell yeah. All right, dude. All right, man. So before we get out of here, I got 5 little questions that I like to ask all my guests to help our listeners get to know our guests a little bit better. First thing that comes to your mind, you don't have to think about it too hard. You ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
All right, man. First up, what's your favorite non-design book?
Non-design book. Oh, wow. I would say Orbiting the Giant Hairball, but that's sort of about design. I would say The Creative Act, but that's sort of about design.
Well, the Giant Hairball, that one's sort of like business.
Orbiting the Giant Hairball was an epiphany for me. That's frankly where that other article came from. This is what it sounds like is another good book, which is basically tells you why you like the music you like by really sort of going through each element of music. I would say that's another one that I really like.
Dude, yeah, if anybody hasn't read or at least read the cliff notes of Orbiting the Giant Hairball.
Orbiting the Giant Hairball is a design that should be a must read for design readers.
Yeah, especially like in corporate America with like big orgs and stuff. It's too real sometimes with that one. All right, next up, what is your favorite non-design podcast?
Non-design podcast. Well, I would probably I like Freakonomics. I like This American Life. I like Heavyweights, which is a good one. Those are the 3 that come to mind.
This American Life, I know they just do such a good
Ira.
Ira Glass is amazing. He actually inspired me to make my studio in my closet, actually.
Oh, nice.
During the pandemic. Yeah, I love Ira Glass. All right, next up, what is your favorite meal? This could be something you cook, something your grandma used to cook.
Indian.
In a restaurant. Indian food. Any particular dish?
I mean, and lamb sag karai, but I could eat anything. I absolutely adore Indian food. Sushi's great, but I could eat Indian food. There's just something about the panoply of flavors in a curry that just sets me off. With a pint of a proper British bitter.
Yeah, I love it, dude. So I grew up Italian. My, grandma was Italian, and my mom obviously like cooked like red sauce and red gravy and all the Italian stuff. And so I love to cook, so I can go in the kitchen, whip up something with all like European spices and things like that. But when it comes to like cooking Indian food, like I have no idea where to start. I couldn't tell you. I just like it's one of those things where like I have to have it at a restaurant because if I'm not making it, it doesn't come out of like a jar. Or, like,
Yep.
I couldn't experiment.
I
Can't,
couldn't.
I don't
couldn't tell
understand.
you. And all I
Yeah.
know is I'm not a good eater of it. That's all.
Yeah, but you can't cook it. I love it. Yeah, I'm the same way. And back in New Orleans, dude, everybody's like, oh, New Orleans has such good restaurants. They have good New Orleans restaurants. We had awful Indian food in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And we had maybe one or two Indian restaurants, and it was mediocre at best. And so, I don't know, moving up to Cincinnati, there's actually a lot of good Indian places up here. I've been pleasantly surprised. So I'm sure. Are you outside of New York City? Or
I'm outside. I'm in New Jersey. But I mean, when I first had Indian food when I was studying in England, and it was the equivalent of like a Mexican restaurant here is like an Indian restaurant there. They're like everywhere. And if you're lucky, one town has one Mexican restaurant there. Whereas here, like now it's grown over time. And now we've got a place down the street, Malka, which is it's the best Indian food that I've had on this side of the Atlantic. And literally I could walk to it. So I'm there like twice a month. Yeah. Probably not good for my waistline, but it's delicious.
Yeah, ghee. Ghee's not super healthy, but anyway. All right. What is your favorite vacation spot?
Oh boy, my favorite vacation spot is I like going to places where I don't have an agenda. I guess the way I would say is when I travel, my wife, she's an awesome planner. She kind of gets us to the places. But when I would travel, if I just normally travel, when I was traveling with consulting, whatever, I just like going and getting lost. There's something to be very magical and serendipitously whimsical about not having a plan, just being like, here's where I am. If I walk around this corner, and I know that I probably foregone a lot of great opportunities in these major cities around the world, not realizing I was right around the corner from something. But in those moments of just saying I can walk left, right, straight, like Amsterdam, just walk every time somebody says, what should I see in Amsterdam? I said, just walk out of the city and just keep walking. Just walk. Every place is a postcard. Like to me, that's the kind of vacation I like to go where it's like really unplanned and you can kind of just explore and find things without having, without having to see it on the brochure that by the time you get there, you've already seen a video of what it looks like.
I love that, dude. What was your favorite place where you've done that?
Oh God. Yeah, there's a lot of place. I would say Amsterdam is definitely up there. Munich, Shanghai. Shanghai was super interesting. Yeah, I mean, pretty much any place I go, I usually give myself the first day not to try to know anything and just get lost.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's like, Amsterdam, Munich. I mean, you could sort of kind of understand signs and you can, make words out. They kind of sound
just enough, right?
They at least read almost like English a little bit, But Shanghai or Asian countries where it's like I can't even begin to tell you what any of those signs mean. Just kind of walking around, I bet that's got to be really. I've never had a chance to do that, but I bet that was exciting. All right, dude. Next up, last one. What is your favorite design tool that is not Figma?
I love that question. I would say the one that I'm currently using is UserZoom, and I'll just say that if you have a very good license to use it, where you're not paying by the credit, it's amazing. And having been in the consulting side of things, I can't say it was as easy, but when you've got a really nice big license to use a tool like UserZoom, it's pretty awesome to see how much reach you can make.
All right, dude. Ronnie, this has been amazing. Really excited to have you on. Such an important topic. I think so many people out there, they hear us talk about LinkedIn and people get super burnt out and use it for the wrong reasons in the wrong way. And I think we can hopefully save a few people from the heartache and the heartburn that maybe we have had. So I really appreciate you coming on. Before we get out of here, let everybody know where they can find you. We mentioned LinkedIn, but you got URL, website, anything like that? You want to give yourself a plug?
RonnieBattista.com. I created, and thanks to people like Joe Mearsman, was able to actually stand the site up. I had not updated it since I'd been employed. Here's the thing. I'm here. I'm not posting much, but I'm always available. So LinkedIn would be the best way to reach me. And maybe look at some of the older stuff I posted.
Yeah. Recycle it, baby. Get it back. Get it back in the what do you call that? I don't even know. In the queue, in the algorithmic queue. And if you're doing something right, if Ronnie comments on your posts, it means
that's right. Well, listen, no, I'll say if I comment on your post because it was worth commenting on,
There you go. Right on.
it moved me enough to comment. And I think that doesn't make that's a lot of people out there that are not posting anymore, but we like to kind of give props and audience to those that are producing good content.
Yeah, and for those out there who actually have meaningful things to say that are posting stuff, if you don't get the likes, if you don't get the comments, it doesn't mean people aren't reading it. I think that's important to know. Might not make you feel good, but there are people out there that all the time will like comment on stuff or send me a message like, hey, I really liked your post about this, or I love this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you didn't say anything. Maybe you didn't give me that dopamine hit. Damn it.
Yep.
Next time, comment.
And one thing I just want to say out there for those people that are posting, that there's a lot of people out there that I've talked to about stuff like this, and they're like, yeah. And chances are a lot of people that believe this don't recognize that they are viewed by others doing the same thing. And again, these are some very dear friends of mine. Like, they're like, yeah, isn't this crazy? I'm like, you're doing the same thing. So what I would always ask is take a look at yourself. I can tell you right now, I haven't posted since July, so I can sort of speak from authority. Like I kind of get it. I'm sure I need to work on my own stuff, but bottom line is like, take a good look in that mirror before you post things to jump in front of the mirror. And I can guarantee that if you are posting enough, there's probably somebody out there that thinks that maybe isn't getting who you are because of how you're showing up on LinkedIn.
All right, Ronnie, thanks so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. This is a good one.
Oh, yeah. My pleasure, dude.
Well, all right, y'all. That's it for Ronnie and me for today. I hope we helped to shed a little bit of light on LinkedIn and how to use it most effectively, or really just how to not get sucked into the LinkedIn hellhole. Remember, LinkedIn can be a great place to go and find like-minded folks, but you have to know how to use it. But I'm curious, how do you use LinkedIn? Have you found yourself doom scrolling endlessly? Has it really helped your mental health, or do you feel like it's actually made it worse? Let me know what you think on LinkedIn, or shoot me an email at hello@beyonduxdesign.com. I'd love to hear from you. If you like what you heard today, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you feel like you're getting something out of the show, I would love it if you left a 5-star review. That would help me out so much more than you know. And if you know somebody who might find any of this stuff useful, then why don't you tell them about it? That would be fantastic. Don't forget to check out the Beyond UX Design shop. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/shop to pick up some big, beautiful UX-themed art prints and digital downloads you can print yourself. Get free shipping on all orders over $30 and use the code LISTENER to get 10% off your entire order. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/shop to get your print on. Help keep the show independent and ad-free. Check out beyonduxdesign.com/support to find out how. You can join Chris, Siraquan, Stacy, Radu, Megan, Andrew, John, Mark, Kevin, Jason, Michelle, Marty, and many others, and help keep the show independent and ad-free. And you'll get rough transcripts and exclusive access to the entire video library of episodes, even episodes before they're released. You can get instant access to the video archives right now for as little as $5 a month. And if you've been sitting on building your new website, Wix Studio can help get you there faster. Wix Studio is a powerful platform that lets you create and manage websites easily. With Wix Studio, you can quickly adapt designs for every device, reuse assets, and my favorite, export from Figma, and much, much more. Check out beyonduxdesign.com/Wix to start creating today. If you want to transform your career from fuzzy to focused, make sure to grab UX Playbook's Fast Track Bundle. Head on over to beyonduxdesign.com/playbook and use the promo code BEYOND for nearly $25 off all those examples, videos, and tips handcrafted by my buddy Chris Wynn. Remember to sign up for the newsletter and check out all the past episodes along with all the show notes at beyonduxdesign.com. I hope you keep coming back for more great UX tips from Beyond UX Design. And until next time, remember, you're more than a designer because there's more to UX and design. I'll see you around. Take care, y'all. Dude, I just had a brain fart. What the hell was I going to say? I didn't write it down.
Flatulence in my brain is I have lots of flatulence, so I understand.